Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. Welcome to Torah Lecha. I hope it's working. Let me see. I don't see any meters. Oh, yeah. Meters are going up. That means that it's working. That is always good. It's always good. Hello, everyone. Uh, Jerome, Rocky, Deborah is here too. So, yeah, we have people online and people in the room. That feels so nice. So, guys, I will say hello. I will say hello to all of you in a minute. I have to add a couple of things before I forget. Like this, or my name also. Let's see who is here. Karen Farkas is here. Hello, welcome. Brendan David Grossman are here as well. Amparo Goldman, Andrea Royave. Is it in person? Yeah, in person, Andrea. I know you live close by. If you're in the neighborhood, you should come to have it in person here at Schmoozers. Yeah, it's great. A little noisy, but I always say that it reminds me to my visit to the yeshiva. There is nothing more, there is noisier than a yeshiva when you have 1,000 people studying 1,000 different topics, all yelling at each other because you have to be louder than whoever is next to you. And they still manage to learn. I don't know how they do it. Donna Alden Bogdan is here. Welcome. Ariel Lee. Karen, you can't hear anything? Can you hear it? Randy Lodinger is here. Josue Rivera is here. So if you can hear it, please let me know. Is it there? Jerome will tell me if it's here or not. So guys, if the sound is okay, please let me know in the chat. I rely on your feedback to know if things are okay or not. That's the way it works. Oh, Randy Lodinger said yes. So don't worry, guys. It's all good. It's all good. It's all good. So we are going to study today Parsha Shlach Lecha. I have a very interesting connection to this Parsha, and I will tell you what's going on. Nothing to do with the content, but with the words. Many years ago, in another life, I will say, when I was a cantor in Chile, I learned a very valuable lesson through this parsha. I went to officiate a bar mitzvah on a Thursday morning. It was at the filling ceremony, and it was this parsha. I went to read the Torah, and it was one word. The word was vayaturu, which means to scout the land, and you can tell that somebody spat on it before, and it was all a mess. The word, I kind of knew the word what it was because I practiced it in advance, but it was a big block. What do you call it? Smash. So the Torah wasn't kosher anymore, and that's when I learned from my rabbi all the laws pertaining what makes a Sefer Torah kosher or not. So if a Sefer Torah is missing a letter, or there is one letter that you cannot read for any reason, because even though it's erased or somebody spat on it, sometimes happen when you read it, or somebody went with a talit, before getting an aliyah, and some people touch the Torah, and many things can make a letter disappear from the Torah. So if that happened, the Torah is not kosher. So we went ahead and we did it with the tefillin, because that was the only scroll we had there. But then we had to go and get a loaner from the main sanctuary to keep using until that Sefer Torah was repaired. So anyway, Holly Mandelkorn is here. Welcome. Karen Farkas. What is another 4+ minute? I don't know what you're saying. Anyway, hi. So I don't know. So we are going to start. It's already 10 past noon with the class for today. And I have, of course, the material for today's class. Okay? I'm going to open it up. like this. I will take away my name. Very good. And I will do it like this. There you go. There you go. So, can you hear the sound? It sounds like a shofar, but it's not the shofar. Yeah. Okay. So, welcome, Judy Sharak. Welcome to the class. So, let's read this. It said, Va isperu lo vayumbru banu el haaretz. Okay, this is the report of the 12 spies when they came back. So, long story short, what happened? Moses sent 12 spies to the land of Israel so they can come back and report on how was the land. Nobody ever been there. It was no Google back in the days. No, you can go to the computer and Google land of Israel, and then once you get the results, you hit in images, right? And then you can see the images there, and you can have an idea how the land it is. They didn't have that, so the only way for them to know what's going on is to send people and to take notes of everything and then to report back. So Moses sent 12 spies, 12 leaders, actually, not just spies, because there were 12 leaders to go to the land of Israel and to take note of every detail. Why? Well, the idea was to have as much information as possible to create a strategy for entering the land. And by the way, one of the things that I want to say, because um, this is something very interesting that I guess we all suffer this in our lives. Um, they were sent to report on the facts of the land. That's it. When they came back, what they said is, of course, they presented a report, but they also said it's impossible. And people freaked out and they wanted to go back to Egypt. But the thing is, they misunderstood their mission. They were not sent. They were not sent to the land of Israel to determine if it was possible or impossible. You understand that? There's a big difference. That was not their call. That would be up to Moses, Joshua, and the generals to understand how to do it. The fact that they have to go to the land of Israel was not a question. God didn't say to them, okay, send spies and then see if it's possible or impossible, right? No, say send spies and then you will figure it out how to do it. That's it. So that's what happened. So that is what I said. Long story short, 12 spies went, 12 spies came back, and this is the report. This is a report. We arrived at the land to which you sent us, and indeed, it flows with milk and honey, and this is its fruit. So you probably saw these photos. It used to be a very famous Israeli stamp. I don't know if you've ever seen it, with the two guys carrying the big. It became very famous at the JNF. I think these two guys carrying like a gigantic, uh, how you call it, the grapes, not a bunch of grapes, gigantic. So the Midrash said that they brought the biggest bunch of grapes they could get. So the idea was, look, if people are going to see these ginormous grapes, then people are going to say, well, if this is the size of the grapes, imagine the size of the people, right? Because they already had everything figured out. They would say, look at the grapes, and they were giants there. And people said, okay, I believe you. I see the grapes. The grapes are big, so that means people are big too, right? So, but that's why they said, and this is the fruit, because it looks like they actually showed, they brought samples to prove it. And they said, indeed, it flows with milk and honey because God already communicated that. I'm going to take you to the land of milk and honey. And they say, yeah, God was right. There is milk and honey. By the way, when I say milk and honey, what do you picture? Milk, okay? Milk from animals. And honey, what honey? No. Back in the day, the biblical honey is date syrup. It's almost like in these days you have here in Canada maple syrup. Have you noticed how the maple syrup looks like honey? So they would do it with the palm trees. They will create syrup, and that's what they use to bring flavor to things. They weren't using they weren't using how you call it the the bee. I don't know when they started to that became a thing to use the honey from the bees, but the biblical uh, milk and honey is the syrup. Okay, and it's interesting because that is historically for humanity the original honey was the syrup from the trees. But in this day and age, and I researched this in this day and age, because of marketing trademarks, you cannot call maple syrup honey. You're not allowed. The only thing you can call honey is the one from the bees. But even though the original honey is the other one, they cannot use that name anymore. I don't know. I don't know. Go figure out. Anyway. So let's go back here. We arrive at the land to which you sent us. So basically, they're saying, yeah, we did what you asked us to do. We went there, okay, came back. This is the fruit. But how do you feel when somebody is talking to you? Say, Jerome, you're such a great guy, but Rocky, you're amazing, but. So what do you think? Here it comes, right? Now you're finally going to tell me what you really think about me. That's why some people will say, okay, what do you think about me? Don't sugarcoat it. They're going to skip the but and they're going to go straight to the thing. Because otherwise they will say, yeah, you're an amazing guy. You know, you're so dynamic and entertaining and uplifting. But, so of course there is a but. Look at this. Listen to this. We arrive at the land to which you sent us, and indeed it flows with milk and honey, and this is the fruit. But the people that dwells in the land is powerful. The cities are very greatly fortified, and we also saw there the offspring of the giants. Do you realize here, right? That but just by saying but, the first statement, like the land flows with milk and honey, great fruit, is irrelevant. All of a sudden it became irrelevant. Why? Because that bad word, that is but. It's a bad word. It's a bad word. And I read some people who will argue that we should never use but. Sometimes the correct way of saying, if you want to make a longer statement, use and. You are this, and this, and this. So then it's all one unit. But if you say but, you are erasing everything that you already said. Anyway, this is for all of you actually to think when you talk to somebody else. Instead of but, use and. And. Okay, let me read the next one and you will see some comments of what people think about but. We'll go here. Okay, so let's start with the Ramban, the Nachmanides. Nachmanides. He says, welcome, C. Sam Bailey. Shalom. The spies report opened with answers to the issues that they have been charged to investigate, right? In all this, they said the truth. Therefore, they indeed should have continued. The people that dwells in the land is powerful, right? But they should have said and, not but. And. For Moses had commanded them to find out if they were strong or weak. That was part of their mission. The wickedness of the spies was saying the word but. Without the word but, the report would have continued to be a simple enumeration of facts. The addition of but signified something negative and beyond human capacity. something impossible to achieve under any circumstances. Thus, the spies were reporting that the desirability of the land notwithstanding, it was impossible to vanquish the native population. Okay, that's a problem. That's a problem. When they would say impossible. And by the way, again, it was not their mission. Go see if they're weak, they're strong. How many are there? Do they have walls? Right? What kind of food did they find? That's it. That's it. But they didn't do that. They went beyond with that. Okay. Starburst Solaris, welcome. Yeah, we have haze everywhere. I know. I know. Uh, Randy Lodinger, but divides and includes. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. That's why sometimes, and I learned many years ago that this is better if we. It's all about how we use the language, and we could be so much effective if we change a little bit of how we talk to people. And the other thing that I learned is you should never ask anything, if possible, on the negative, because that's the way we process information. For example, uh, you're about to shut the light, okay? And I don't want that. So people will usually say, don't shut the light, right? Your brain have to understand, shut the light, what it means, and then cross it out, right? The best way of saying is leave it on. It's a more clear message, leave it on. And I know it with my son, because I don't shut the light. What did he hear? Shut the light, right? So instead of saying that, leave it on. Hi. So just saying that's there are sometimes little changes we can do to our language to be more effective. So this is Nachmanides, what he said. Again, look at the time. He lives in the Middle Ages, and they were already understanding that the word "but" was problematic. Let me continue with the same topic here. Okay, just summarizing what he said. Number one, ignore everything. And now I'm talking to all of you like personally. If somebody talks to you and uses "but," right? Number one, ignore everything that comes before the word "but," because the real message comes after it. Number two, the word "but" separates the fake agreement from the real agreement most of the time. Number three, "but" dismisses or minimizes what precedes it, and highlights and emphasizes what follows it. Okay, that's thing for you to understand. Welcome, Lee Solomon. Welcome to the class. Let's continue and listen to this. Okay. Okay. So now that we understand that, right? It was a great. This parsha is great, but no, just kidding. It's a great parsha. It's a great parsha. Let's continue with another topic here of what happened after the people of Israel heard the negative report. By the way, there were two reports. Do you remember the two reports? How was it? Two reports. Number one, the 10 spies, which is this report that I just read. And number two was with a K. Start with a K or a C, depends how you spell it. Kalev and Yefune. Mitzvah point for Jerome Fomin. So there were two reports, one from 10 spies, and what they said is impossible, and the other one from Yeshua bin Nun and Kalev and Yefune. Those were the only two. So what are you talking about? Of course we can. And I like the way they said it. They defined the people of the promised land, even though the other 10 they said they are giants, right? Yeshua and Caleb, they use a phrase that I love. That is very similar of what we say in English. They said, Ki lachmeinu hem. What is lachmeinu? No. What from lechem? They said, we are, of course we can defeat him. They are like, they will be our bread. What does it mean they will be like bread? They will be our bread. Don't we have similar expressions in English? Ah, we are going to eat them for breakfast. Or is it, ah, piece of cake, right? In Spanish, we said pan comido. I said eating bread. Like a, so it's interesting sometimes to realize how similar idioms related to eating food as symbolizing something easy already existed. In English, we say when something is easy, it's a piece of cake, but it basically is as easy as eating the cake or easy as pie. What does it mean easy as pie? As eating the pie, not to make the pie. That would be complicated, at least if it's me, right? But it's easy as eating something. So they already say, giants, we're going to eat them up. And then, anyway, so, but what happened is, this talks about human nature and how we have the natural tendency to always listening and believing the negative report, right? You're freaking out about an exam. People will tell you, yeah, you're going to fail. But there is somebody said, no, 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 come on. We know each other for 5 years already. You're going to be great. We believe the one that said you cannot do it. We have the tendency to believe the negative report. But some people actually, it's funny how they actually keep asking until they get a negative report. Especially sometimes happen with health, right? You go to the doctor, say everything is fine. No, I don't believe you. So you go to another doctor, right? Yeah. It's like the joke that I heard of the Yiddish mama that, in the epitaph on the tombstone, she wrote, I told you I was right. Anyway, so let me read this other text, also from the book of Numbers. What happened after they decided to believe the negative report? Okay, it says the entire assembly raised up and issued its voice. The people wept that night. All the children of Israel murmured against Moses and Aaron, and the entire assembly said to them, if only we have died in the land of Egypt, why is God bringing us to this land to die by the sword? Few things that happen with this. A few things what the rabbi said that happened with this statement. Number one, they said this was the Jewish calendar, the 9th of Av, Tisha B'Av. So basically, God said, because they are crying without a reason, I will give them a reason to cry. And that date was reserved for the destruction of the temple whenever that would happen, which is the day that we all cry, basically, the Tisha B'Av. So it's a big, why? Because they cry without a reason. It's almost like bad parenting, right? When you have a kid that is really spoiled, and then you say no to them, and they start crying, right? The old school parenting that I said, stop crying or I will give you a reason to cry, right? When I read that midrash, it reminds me to that. I'm not saying that I have to go through it, and I'm not saying that I do it with my kids, but I notice a fact that some people say, stop crying and I will give you a reason to cry, right? So this is the same. God said, but this is up to the fact because you cried without a reason, and then eventually that date was set aside for the destruction of the temple. And it's a day, even to the day, that for 9th of Av, we come to synagogue, we shut the lights, and we read the lamentations in the floor. And it's a time for crying until one day, hopefully, the temple will be reborn. But Yes. So let's see. I am Arthur Lee Solomon says shalom. Okay. Connecting from a different account. Very interesting. Very interesting. Okay. Oh yeah. Well, Maimonides will explain that God always wanted to get rid of the temple eventually. It was just a process for humanity to understand that sacrifices were not necessary. Why that way? I don't know. Because what we forget, and maybe in 2000 years, we will see things differently. But back before the Holocaust, the destruction of the temple was the greatest tragedy we had. Now, yeah, I don't know if it's interesting because now we try to rationalize it, right? Destruction of the temple, and we don't disgust ourselves anymore by doing it. But I'm thinking, try to go 2,000 years ago, right after the destruction of the temple, and try to rationalize why there was this. It would be very tough, right? Now that we are detached from that, we are doing it. Those are the midrashim. Yeah, Kamsa Van Kamsa, trying to explain why the temple was destroyed. But so that's why sometimes I'm a little hesitant to try to rationalize it because I feel that it will be as bad as trying to rationalize the Holocaust. Right? You don't want to have 2,000 years from now somebody saying, "Well, it was necessary because of this of that." No, evil should never be rationalized. Anyway, but maybe just me. But that's what I feel. So let's go back to this, and I wanted to bring you this because it looks like it's one of the most negative parts of the Torah. Let me read it again. The entire assembly raised up and issued its voice. The people wept that night. All the children of Israel murmured against Moses and Aaron, and the entire assembly said to them, "If only we have died in the land of Egypt, why is God bringing us to this land to die by the sword?" Nothing positive about it. And yet, one of the most famous things in Judaism came from that text. And I'm talking about the minyan. Do you know this? That why we need 10, why we need a minyan, right? It's coming from this text. Listen to this. Okay. Um, I will be there in the back. Okay. And about that. Meanwhile, keep it in mind that from that episode of the negative report and the people crying out, the rabbis learn about the minyan. It's not on my next slide, but it's coming. It's all related to that. But first, the rabbis also try to understand why people who experience all these miracles were in that situation. Let's play a little bit here. Let's try to understand them. If you were the one leaving Egypt, okay, you experience the 10 plagues. You experience the splitting of the Red Sea. Nobody told you. You walked it. Okay, you were there for the revelation of the Torah. You are still eating the manna that falls from heaven every morning, right? Why will you do that? Why will you believe the negative report? Anybody at home? Do you have an idea? Will you do it? Right? Well, let me read for you this commentary from Rabbi Moshe Feinstein, and then I'll ask the question again. He says as follows. Listen to this. This is pure gold. I never thought about this way. Because, in other words, before I start, in a nutshell, what he's saying is that in our generation, we are better prepared than they were back then, even though we don't experience the miracles. Listen to this. There is a great difference between individuals who have developed a faith and a faith in and loyalty to God through labor and toil, and those who experience an epiphany through miracles and wonders. You understand? There is a difference. And I see it all the time that some people believe or become religious because they think that something miraculous happened to them. And there are other people that they develop a relationship with God through prayer, studying, mentoring. Okay, and we have both. We have both. I don't know if you know. We have both kind of people. Both kind of people. The generation of the wilderness gained their awareness of God through the miracles that they witnessed over the prior 2 years. Okay, so 2 years from the all the way from the plagues until that moment right before they are about to enter to the land of Israel. It's 2 years had passed. Although this generation had the greatest awareness of the Creator in the history of the world, they were accustomed to believe only in that which their eyes saw. What they had only seen supernatural miracles, but had not yet observed God's providence manifest in nature, such as his intervention to assure victory in battles and conquest. They could not fathom this time of miracle. Without supernatural intervention, they will have to engage in a war that they could not naturally win. Since their faith was rooted in God's obvious wonders, they lacked a developed awareness of God and the spiritual world, maintaining an attitude of, I'll believe it when I'll see it. Okay, that was their philosophy. I'll believe it when I see it. This generation believed because they did actually see wonders, but they had not been trained to use their intellectual faculties and rational thought to have faith even before any signs of assistance or respite were apparent. Sorry? Well, basically, what he's saying is that they didn't believe because they didn't go to yeshiva, right?
No, but they believed everything they saw. So God didn't do anything to the 10 spies, so therefore they must be right.
They said, yeah, they were used to miracles, but they never studied. They never studied Torah. So basically, what Rabbi Feinstein is saying is that awareness of God by studying, right, and then studying, praying, talking to God, even though God is not answering, right? All that thing, all that exercise, he argues it will take you higher than like explicit miracles, which is interesting. It said that because otherwise, if you feel that the miracle is not there, you stop believing because you didn't see it, didn't perceive it. But that's why somebody will say to you, "Well, it's not that the miracle wasn't there; you weren't able to see it because of the." But you're already using the intellect, right? I said that's what take you forward because when you start thinking that way, Moshe finds I like it. Yeah, yeah, we are better because we go to yeshiva and they didn't. So they were like they had a very simplistic approach to God and life and miracles and thing. We are higher because we have teachers, we can study Torah. And yes, Rocky, you said very elitist. It's like, right? It's like only a few can attain that level through study. Back in the day, the difference is everybody could see the miracles. But it's true that at the end of the day, all the miracles that they experienced didn't go anywhere, right? It's a- I- So that's the thing. That's the thing. So I like his approach. Let's go to the next text. Anybody at home, if you have any comment, let me know in the chat. This is like something that is very personal, right? It's talking about our belief in miracles, and it's talking about uh, our approach to a life where miracles sometimes are not evident or not or to our perception, not present at all. How do we deal with daily life when God is not explicit, like the kind of God that we read in the Torah? Holy Mandelkern, you say, Rabbi Feinstein is stressing the discipline of study and training yourself to look for the divine rather than relying on seeing the one-shot miracles. Correct. That's exactly. I want to highlight this so everybody can see it. This is very, very, very nice, Holly. You summarize it beautifully. That's what it is. Yeah, yeah. And we have many people that they say, "I don't believe because I don't know. God never talked to me. Maybe God called you and you didn't pick up the phone, right?" Well, I'm on my phone all the time. Yeah, but you put it on do not disturb. I don't know. Anyway, next text about the same thing. This is from Rabbi Avigdor Miller. Gaining a strong and authentic trust in God takes a lifetime of effort. Absolutely agree with that. One must invest much time and effort contemplating the designs and complexity evident in creation, the laws of the Torah and its prophecies, an accurate historical event on the world level and individual level. Judaism does not embrace blind faith and a mere utterance of I believe. There must be honest and careful study of the facts that results in an informed decision and, and a developed understanding of our Creator. Very interesting. Very interesting, I will say. Yeah. But the base is the same that we live in a world, even if you believe that um, the miracles we read in the Bible are better than study, we don't have those miracles anymore. According to the rabbis, after the destruction of the temple, the miracles stopped being explicit. You know what is the perfect example of that is the book of Esther, the one we read in Purim. How many times does it mention the name of God? None. Why? Because it's the book that it was written after the destruction of the temple, where the presence of God is not explicit anymore. I think that's why the rabbis decided to keep that. It was part of the canon. I was thinking, why would they make part of the canon a book that doesn't contain the name of God to prove a point? That's the way we experience life. We experience life. You read the book of Esther and say, well, look at all the miracles, right? The way the rise and fall of Haman is like miraculous. And yet the name of God is not there. So how can you talk about miracles if the name of God is not involved? Or when Esther said, okay, I want you to I want you all of you to fast because I'm going to talk to the king. Why did she ask everybody to fast? Of course, we understand that is the fasting and praying, right? That is very common. You fast and you pray, but the word prayer was not mentioned on purpose. On purpose. If you want to know which book of the Bible is the closest thing to our life, to the way we experience the world, the book of Esther, because that's the way we experience the world. Just say, Lee Solomon, they did not want to hear from God in a way they told Hashem that they will not obey. Uh, yeah, but anyway, even in the past, they weren't so eager to follow words commands, but the presence of God was so wonderful and so evident that they had to believe, they had to obey because they were overwhelmed for all this amazing thing that involved the presence of God. But it looks like even all that is not enough. We need to supplement experiencing miracles. We have to supplement it with study, and we have to supplement it with a personal intention of developing a relationship with God. Simple as that. Both have to be present. Let's continue. Hold on. I want to go to another one here. Okay, another thing that the Midrash brings that I want to share with you. It says, why the story of the spies occurs immediately after that of Miriam. What was the story of Miriam? Remember? Leprosy. When she complained, or not a complaint, she made a racist comment. I said, look, my brother Moses, he married a black woman. Remember? The Ethiopian woman. And God didn't like that. And she was punished with tsarat, with leprosy, for what she said, which was considered gossip. Okay, what's the intention? What's the idea of purposely mentioning that she was Ethiopian? Right? We don't read that language anywhere in the Exodus story. Oh, look, he married an Ethiopian woman. Why the label? Right? It looks she didn't like it. Maybe she looked different. Right? Anyway, so the rabbis are asking here in the Midrash, why the story of the spies occurs immediately after that of Miriam, for whom the nation waited while she was cured of the spiritual blemish of tsarat, of leprosy, because she was afflicted by this blemish because of the same problem. Miriam was punished because she spoke badly of Moses' wife, and the Jewish people saw that the evil of gossip can hit even the most upstanding members of the community. These wicked men did not take the opportunity to learn ethics. You just heard, you just saw what happened with Miriam. She gossiped, she was punished with leprosy. What is the lesson? Gossip is bad. Okay? Immediately after, Miriam was cured, right? Then she has to go through this process of purification. She is fine. Okay, now the 12 spies go to the land. When they came back, what did they do? First thing they did, they gossip. Back to back, two episodes of gossip in the Torah. I said, at least you might expect that they understood that gossiping wasn't good. They didn't. It just didn't. Anyway, so according to the Midrash, that's why the two stories were played side to side. Continue. Now, and the other thing is, the rabbis try to understand why the 10 spies said what they said. Did they really think that it was impossible to conquer the land? Have you ever wondered that?
Or they were afraid to go.
But why?
They still have the slave mentality in Egypt.
Well, it's interesting because here Rabbi Moshe Chaim Lutzato, he was also very rationalist. Lutzato, if you read his commentaries to Torah, so very similar to the Rambam in the sense that he's a rationalist. Listen to this, because he's trying to understand the tribal structure of the people of Israel back then in the desert. Okay, he said, it is possible that a person can overcome his inclination for money and other pleasures, yet still be pressed for honor, as he cannot tolerate being on a lower status than his friends. Okay? Is that true? That is one of the most difficult things to get rid of, the honor. It was this which, according to our sages, and this is quoted from the Zohar, caused the sin of the spies to slander the land and brought death upon them and the entire generation. For they feared lest their honor be diminished when they will enter the land, as they will no longer be princes among Israel, and others will serve in their stead. Because right now they're all together. They are the leaders of the tribes. Eventually they are going to enter to the land and they are going to be in a big country, right? People are going to open businesses. People are going to start trading with other people. I said, well, right now, there is no trading, there is no commerce, right? They were leaders, they were the heads of the clans. Eventually, there will be other markers to establish honor and power, right? Right now, you are the leader of the tribe, Mazel Tov. But tomorrow, there will come somebody who's going to be way richer than you. And maybe the other person will be honored more than you because he has more money, right? Or I don't know, maybe, right? So they didn't want to change. They didn't want to change the way they already knew that the way it worked in Egypt while they were slaves, they were the leaders. That the way it worked in the desert, they were the leaders. They didn't want to take the risk that things will change, and they wouldn't be as important once they entered to the land. According to Lutzato, that's the reason why they didn't want to go. Okay, it's like the joke that I heard that this woman was talking to her girlfriend, and she was saying, "You know that my husband only uses credit card. I tried to convince him to use cash, but he's afraid of change." Anyway,
So there's no room giving spies credit for worrying about the safety and integrity of the Jewish nation. No room for that.
the safety? No, no, because what they are saying is, let's go back to Egypt. And do you think that's safer?
They're not military experts. Should be left to the generals and to decide what they need to do.
But this talks to anybody who is in a toxic relationship, for example, a woman that her husband beats her, right? And she prefers to stay there because that's what she knows. There are many cases like that. People who don't rather you rather stay on your dysfunction than to try to get a brighter future because there is a risk. Now, put that on steroids with these people that they were really important people, but it was a very basic society. They had, for example, the money or the gold, whatever they brought from Egypt. That's it. There were no other factors. Then you will have the priests, the Levites, the business people, the people who will have connection with other governments, and they were afraid. Yeah, Karen Farkas, you say they have been experiencing God's miracle since birth, but did not understand that life was a miracle. Also, yeah, but you see, to understand that life is a miracle, somebody had to teach you that. And that's what Rabbi Feinstein is saying. That unless somebody teaches you all this, you are very limited in your understanding of God. That's why, if I had to summarize, I always said, summarizing Rabbi Feinstein's words, we are better because we go to yeshiva in this generation. Because you have a teacher who teaches you that, hey, life is a miracle, for example. Yeah. So I wanted, yeah, your bread. I wanted to do, because we are approaching the end of the class. I wanted to, okay. So remember that I told you about the report of the 10 spies, and the people cried and they rebelled against Moses and Aaron, right? So now, Numbers 14:27, God says, how long, okay, in Hebrew, I need to read in Hebrew first. Ad matai la'eda hara'a hazot. How long am I to put up with this evil community, Edah community, who keep grumbling about me? How much longer? Right? I have heard the complaints of the people of Israel, which they continue to raise against me. Enough. And that's what God said to Moses. Let me kill them all. I'll start fresh with you. Okay? But that's not the point. That's not the point. What I'm trying to say is, going back, Rashi says, when it says up to what, how much longer I have to deal with this Eidah, Rashi says this refers to the 10 spies, not the whole congregation. Okay? God is angry with the 10 leaders. From here we learn, says Rashi, that an Eidah is technically a gathering of at least 10 people. Why? Because how many was the Eidah? 10. But you see, God says, let's see if if I had the thing here, let me show you. God says that his name is going to be glorified in the midst of a congregation. Okay? That's why, for example, there are certain prayers in the service that we need a minion. So when we glorify the name of God in public, because I think it's in the book of Psalms, it said, I will glorify my name in the midst of the congregation. The problem is, how many is the congregation? And in Judaism, when you need to define something like that, what you need is a precedent, a judge in the room. You need a precedent. So once you have a precedent, then sometimes it's easier to figure out other things. So what
The whole Torah is the only one that could be found.
with a number attached to the word Edah, right? And then you have sometimes Edah mentioned to a larger group, but never to a smaller group. So when they try to figure out what is the minimum for an Edah, what you need is a word, the word Edah attached to a number, and that number was 10. Now the
Numbers considered like 3 and 7 at different times, maybe by different rabbis.
no, but not the word Edah. And this is the technique to do this, to find the same word in another place with a different context. It's called Gezerah Shava. And it's mentioned in the principles of Rabbi Ishmael that some people say before the Kaddish Rabbanan. They will say from Kalva Homer, Gezerah Shava. They said this is the way, the laws of hermeneutics, the words of interpretation of the Torah. Number one is Kalva Homer, number two is Gezerah Shava. So this is what happened here. The rabbis applied Gezerah Shava to Eidah, and they found that the word Eidah appear in a context that is related to 10 people. So from there, we know that the minimum that we can find in the scriptures connected to the word Eidah is 10. So the minyan is 10. And because the 10 spies were male, traditionally the minyan is 10 males. Because there is no example in the Torah of 10 women. But then you can argue that, of course, not. Because that's not the way the Bible worked. And that's why conservative movement was changed. Because women back then wouldn't be allowed to be the leaders of the community. And that's the difference. But I know that, you know what I mean, Jerome, in the Talmud Yerushalmi, they actually proposed the number 7, and I can't remember why. It's another source. But every time that you have a rule from the Yerushalmi and a rule from the Babylonian Talmud, the Babylonian always wins. That's why we follow the 10. But I think the Reform movement took the 7 from the Yerushalmi. And some Reform congregation, they allow 7 for a minyan because they got it from there. Yeah, Karen Farkas, you cannot hear from others are saying. You're absolutely right. It's because if I open a microphone on the table, you will hear not only then, but people exercising upstairs and all that. But what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna pan it. Hold on. You can say, hello here. This is where we are. Some people don't know Winnipeg, so we are in the Asper Jewish Community Campus. What you're seeing is the entrance where people are coming. That's the cafeteria. It's called Schmoozer's Cafe. Upstairs, you have the gymnasium. It's huge. There you have the swimming pool. You see the swimming pool over there? They're gonna kill me because you don't supposed to take photos. But hey, I had to leave in a minute anyway, so they can kick me out if they want. And over there, if you keep walking, over there is the Hebrew Day School. So everything is in one place. It's called the Asper Jewish Community Campus here in Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada. So you had a little informal tour of the place. So, thank you everyone for tuning in this afternoon. It's already 1 o'clock. Remember that the class will be rebroadcasted tonight at what is it, 8 p.m. Central Time. Next week we won't meet. I won't be in town, so I give you guys a week off. Okay, so you can rest from me. But if you want to study Torah, we have a huge archive. All the classes from the past are all in our YouTube channel. So if you go there, you can play previous classes if you still want to study next week, even though I won't be here. So we are going to see each other, God willing, in 2 weeks. If you're in Winnipeg, come by at the Asper Jewish Community Campus. You can buy lunch at Schmoozers, and then we study together. Thank you. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Stay safe. Hope to see you soon. Bye, everyone.